And that is what the sunset looks like here on the 18th of August, 2015 in the Western Pacific. Two powerhouse typhoons. To the left, we have Goni, and to the right, Atsani. And both of these storm systems expected to become major typhoons. Actually, the one on the left there, Goni, a Category 3 equivalent at this time. Atsani, a Category 4. Well, needless to say, both of these storm systems definitely bear our attention. And what we're going to first talk about is Goni here. Let's take a little closer look at it. Storm system, the smaller of the two, but it definitely is going to have a larger impact on land areas, at least at this time, based on the current forecast. It went through an eye wall replacement cycle today, so it did weaken down a little bit. According to JTWC, that's the Joint Typhoon Warning Center of the U.S. military, it is expected to rebound with max winds around 115 knots here on the 21st. So just before it starts to recurve off here towards the north, heading off there towards eastern portions of Taiwan or the southern Japanese islands. JMA, a very similar track outlook, with the storm system regaining some intensity all the way up to the 21st before it starts to churn off here towards the north once it starts to interact with a passing trough that will be moving out of eastern China at that time. So what's really steering all this? Well, as I mentioned, there is going to be a passing trough, but at least at this point, have a subtropical ridge. What you really can see here on the water vapor satellite loop, it's that area in the darker color right in here. It's a high pressure ridge which really extends out from the Western Pacific, just south of Japan. At this time, we have low pressure area moving over Japan. That's been bringing some heavy rainfall out here. And this is really dominating the flow of both of these storms. But the thing is, with this passing trough to the north, you expect this ridge to kind of degrade a little bit. That should let Atsani drift off here towards the north. And as far as Goni is concerned, run along the western periphery of it until you start to see these areas in the brighter whites kind of moving through. That's as far as these troughs are dipping down, and that's what most of the guidance is picking up on with our storm acting to the north here. And this is actually just the surface analysis from KMA. You can see our low pressure area and these isobars kind of jetting off here towards the left. And you see how it kind of gradually rises as you look towards the east. That's our high pressure ridge that we're talking about. And really the dominant steering flow with our storm system. So as long as we got that down, we can kind of get the general idea of where the storm system's going. But let's take a look at some numerical guidance, including the ECMWF model. This is using the Meteor app. And what you can see here is basically heading through Friday into Saturday. As I mentioned, specifically with Goni, it starts to run around the western periphery of the subtropical ridge, being picked off by a passing trough there towards the north. So with that said, fairly high confidence, at least at this time, that Goni is not going to be impacting the Philippines directly. Key thing to note, though, is take a look at this. All of this moisture flow coming in from the southwest, part of the southwest monsoon. It's that enhanced flow that we always talk about, and I think that's going to bring some heavy showers, even that threat of some flooding rains out there in parts of Luzon extending down through Visayas. Something to keep in mind. I know that it won't be directly impacting you, but I wouldn't totally ignore it. Now, as our storm starts to track back off here towards the north, the big key thing is how close is it going to get to Taiwan. If it does move directly over these mountains, it would significantly weaken with very little impact there for those of you on Okinawa and parts of Naha. At least with ECMWF, it does kind of steer it more on a northerly projection, leaving Naha and most of Okinawa Honto within some tropical storm strength winds. GFS actually showing it a little bit farther there towards the east. I'll show you that to you in a second. Meanwhile, Atsani, well, just a massive storm system. I think coastal areas out here could get battered, but the Ogasawara Islands actually going to be looking at some typhoon strength winds, by the way. Take a look at this. Now, this is just a quick comparison. I just showed you the ECMWF with the Meteor app. Now, this is actually the GFS here to the right, and you can see with Goni a little bit closer to the southern Japanese islands out here. Very similar setup with Atsani, though, with all the numerical guidance. Meanwhile, NavGem has much more interaction going on with Taiwan, something to keep in mind. I mean, we're still about 4 to 5 days out. This is still very possible, and that would significantly weaken our storm. And then JMA on the other side of the spectrum from ECMWF, it has total interaction with Taiwan, and that leaves basically a weaker trough back off here towards the north and allows Atsani to kind of move closer to mainland Japan. So this would be the more impactful storm system if JMA had their model unfold. So what I'm saying here is that based on this recurvature with Goni, it could mean for a lot different impacts. And that's very important because whenever we're talking about a recurving storm system, we're talking about a lot of dynamics really changing within the storm itself. And it very well could just jet up some fronts and then basically race off towards the north, not really impacting many of these areas for a long duration, but If that recurvature is weaker in this passing trough as being shown here with the satellite basically from the ECMWF, which we're picking up the cloud cover, you have this front moving through. If that's weaker in the forecast, as JMA says, that means a much longer duration out here, and it allows our storm system to move northwest. So there's a lot of things really ever changing with both of these areas, and that's one reason why you need to continue to check in with the forecast. I know at least at this time, though, I highly recommend those in eastern Taiwan across the southern Japanese islands to just typhoon-proof things at this point. That means pick up light objects outside, get that trampoline ready so it doesn't blow away. Oh, the Ogasawara Islands, which are way south of Tokyo here, they're used to typhoons. They're always typhoon-proof. But I'm more or less worried about some people out here, especially those people continuing their recovery there across eastern and northeastern Taiwan. Even a smaller storm could have a very large impact. The good news is that based on the current forecast, you should be on the western or the left side of the storm, which would mean, well, the winds should be much lower, especially if our storm starts to race back off towards the north. That means the winds by far are much stronger on the right side of it, which really would put the southern Japanese islands in the stronger half of it. At least at this time, I would not start raising the alarm for a typhoon out here if I was in Naha, but I definitely, as I mentioned, would get ready for the possibility of the alarm being raised. That's on Tuesday. I mean, this is showing you Monday through Tuesday, a week away. A lot of time to watch this, guys. Same thing with Atsani, even those in coastal portions of Honshu. I want to keep an eye on this one. That's all for me for now. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please post them down there in the comment box below. I'm trying to make these updates faster and a little bit more to the point, and I seem to keep on falling short. So let me know if you like it to the point or if you like these in-depth analysis that I give with both of these storm systems. It's also quite hard when I'm talking about two storms at the same time, but hey, it is what it is. It's the Western Pacific. It's always on fire out here, and you would think I got used to it by now. All right, guys, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching.